Hey guys, this is Grace and welcome to process video number 2 for my latest 10 handmade cards, 1 homemade kit for July and August. If you are interested in seeing the items that I pulled together for this particular kit, make sure that you check out the description below because the video will be there in the link. So I'm starting off with card number 6, and this one I had cut out a white paper that is about, I don't know, 3 by 4, and then I used I'm inking the background first with the distressed ink, with the mustard seed distressed ink, and then I'm using the stencil from the Heidi Swap stencil that I pulled for this particular kit, and then I'm going to go back and add those dots and with some ripe persimmon. Nope, no, with some spice marmalade, sorry. So I'm just going to use my blending tool for that, and I just like the two-tone look of the whole thing. And so now that that's over, I am going to pull out my big sentiment, which says I like totally love you, and or like totally, yeah, like totally love you. And this is from Heidi Swap. The stencil and the stamp actually came together, so it just, yeah, it was they were a kit, so that was pretty cool. And then I just heat embossed the sentiment with some black ink. And so now we go on to putting together the kit, the rest of the card. Now I'm using this black, no, not black, but the typewriter pattern paper. It's pretty bold, and so I thought I would use that as a background. However, I just felt like the sentiment block was kind of getting lost, and so for me to kind of make that piece stand out a little bit more, I'm going to create a border around, or a block, to kind of mat my sentiment block. But instead of just using just paper or cardstock, I'm actually going to use some of the glitter that I pulled out for this particular kit. So with my double sided adhesive, which I think this is a 1/4 inch strip, I am just adding just strips of adhesive onto the edges of this paper. This is actually the back side of a pattern paper that I don't really care for, and so I've really maximized the 6x6 that I had pulled for this particular kit. And so I wanted to make sure that um, the glitter is not going anywhere, so I'm pressing it onto the adhesive to make sure that it gets stuck on there. And then of course I'm going to put the excess back onto that little vial that came with it. So I really love the look of it. It just makes a really interesting frame for my sentiment, and then everything else will be simple because the glitter and the embossed sentiment just is already standing out, so I don't need to add any more to that. I am going to add my sentiment block with some foam adhesive just to make that stand out, because the glitter adds a little bit of texture to the paper, and so the sentiment is not going to be able to flush right on the top of that. So I needed it to go to have a little bit of dimension. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And that's my card number 6. So on to card number 7. This one is a pretty interesting card. Well, I really wanted to use some of these baby page or baby themed elements, but the rest of the card, or the rest of the paper for this kit, don't really lend itself to a baby themed card, and so I decided to make my own pattern paper with the images. So I am using a few different SCI ink pads here, which are pigment based, I believe. And so I am using the lime, the blue, and the kumquat for my images here. And so I'm going to be using the onesie, the group of stars and moon, and then something else. I can't remember. It's been a while since I created this card. Basically, I'm just creating my own background here, and I want to make sure that no image, no same images together or close together. So I'm kind of spreading them apart, and I used the biggest one first because that is the one that occupied the most space. Oh, and then I'm adding some stars to go around the rest of it. And I liked how that all turned out. And this card is going to be a shaker card. Um, and so I am just finishing up my background. I'm not gonna there's parts here that I'm not gonna fill because I know that it's gonna be covered with my shaker accent anyway, so totally fine with that. And so that's my background piece. Okay, now I am going to kind of finish off the edge with my tracing wheel and a ruler. I don't have a large rectangle stitch die, and so that's why I use this one. But you can definitely use a regular rectangle stitch die if you have them. And so I also don't have a you know, those, what is it called, like a film strip type of die. I know I've seen them, but I don't have one, and so I just made my own. I just kind of made marks and created my own rectangles and then cut it out with my X-Acto knife. And then I'm going to adhere this piece onto, or I'm going to adhere some transparency tape onto this piece and then add some foam adhesive on there so that I could create my shaker accent. So I wanted to make sure that no glitter comes out of this, so I am peppering it with some mini glue dots. Now, of course, you can use some liquid adhesive. I think that would work out well as well. Also, I mean, but since I had the glue dots on my table at this time, I figured why not, and so that's what I'm doing here. And I'm just going to trim off the excess of that transparency, and then I'm going to go in with my foam adhesive. Now my foam is of course very thick, thicker than my frame, and so I have to trim this down a little bit to make sure that it will fit onto to the back side without it showing on the front. So I'm just kind of tearing that. I love this Scotch tape because it's double-sided and it's fairly easy to use. So I'm just making sure that I trim those foam adhesive right onto the edge so that there's no space in between any of this any of my openings. So make sure that you clean that, and I'm looking at it and I'm seeing that okay, that's where I want it to go. And then I'm going to pull out my glitter, and that's basically the element that I'm going to use for my shaker portion of my card here. And I decided to pull the adhesives now than later because I have experienced in the past that when I adhere, or when I put my shaker elements in there and then I pull out my adhesive, I somehow move the stuff, and then so glitter or sequins will stick onto the adhesive as I am pulling it out, and so I don't really like that. Now, I gotta tell you, glitter as elements for shaker, not really, I don't really like it personally, but you know, the fun thing about making cards is, and even with scrapbook pages, is that you make one, and if there's something that you don't like about it, you just move on to the next project. You don't really have to kind of redo it all over again. That's how I look at it anyways, and so I'm just going to move on, just making a mental note not to use that kind of glitter for my shaker card next time. But anyways, here is the elements. I am going to show you that I added some liquid pearls to this as well, just to give it a little bit more design. And so that is my card number 7. Now on to card number 8. Now this one I wanted to use a frame, and so I pulled out the, kind of just gutted it with some X-Acto knife, the inside of it. And then because the pattern papers are just single-sided, you have this white piece that goes that is behind it. So I used that as a white cardstock, and I stamped all of the bottle, the baby bottle on there, just to again kind of make my own pattern paper. And I made some marks so I know exactly where to put that bottle on there. Now I'm looking at this now, and you know what I should have done? I should have had the bottle, or the nipple of the bottle, facing up. I don't know why I did it down, don't know, but I should have had that going up. I think that would have looked better. Also, I had pre-stamped and cut the "It's a Boy" sentiment, and then I just cut that into a banner shape, and I'm pulling out the twine that I've been using for a lot of my cards, and then just tying that into ribbon, and tying the ends into a bow to make it to finish it off. And then I had pre stamped and cut some of the baby sentiments, and that's going to go on the bottom as well, just because it's a baby themed image, and so I wanted to um, make it cute with all of these adorable images. I am going to add a little bit of shine to these images, and so I'm using my Nuvo shimmer pen for that. And then because I have the liquid pearls right there on my table, I'm going to add a little bit of liquid pearl on to my card, and then we'll call it good. That's card number 8. Okay, now we're going to move on to card number 9. So I've done a bunch of birthdays already, and no, not birthdays, thank yous and babies. Now I'm going to go back to the thank yous. And so I'm just using basically just leftover stuff now. I have this leftover yellow cardstock from, because the yellow cards that I pulled was 12 by 12, and so I cut the 8.5 by 11 to make my card bases, and so I have this like, is it 2.5, oh no, 3.5 piece, and so I'm just going to use that as my as part of my card here. And then I'm using my double-sided adhesive, and I created some diagonal lines with them, and then I am going to pour some glitter on there. Now between the two glitters that I had pulled out for this kit, I'm much happier with the results with this fine silver glitter that I pulled versus the white chunky one. I think the white chunky one will be good for bigger types of projects, bigger craft projects, but not paper crafts. I think that for paper crafts, it is better to use fine glitter. That has been my experience anyway. So making sure that I press the glitter onto the double-sided adhesive to make sure that it sticks, and then whatever extra it is, I can brush it off and then put it back onto the container. Now I have this pattern paper scrap, and I'm going to use that as part of my my card element here. Now I only have that one strip of the camera, and then it has the branding strip, so I just used the branding strip just to have something to hold on to it or something, and then I'm going to cover it up anyways with the yellow cardstock. And now I am going to thread my twine. Now this one is a top folding card, and so that's why I needed to create a notch on the top so I can thread the twine through a couple of times, and to make my my oh my goodness, what am I saying here? To finish off the twine. Oh my goodness. And it's only 4:40 p.m. you guys. I mean, why is my mind like blanking on me? I have no idea. But anyway, so let's go back to the card. So I'm just finishing that off, and I love the results of it. And then now I have to use this monkey because I stamped it, and it's cute, and I I don't know, it made the card cute. So that's why I put it in there. And then I'm gonna use the green thank you on there, and call it good. So that's gonna be card number 9. If you are liking these kinds of videos, I have a whole playlist of 10 handmade cards, 1 homemade kit videos. If you are new to my channel, have not seen it before, make sure that you check it out. And then also, um, please subscribe because that's how you will find out when I post my next video. And then also just announcement that if you are having a hard time hearing my voiceovers, I have no idea how to fix that because I'm not a very techie person. But I did find that they said on YouTube that some videos are have problems being heard through mobile devices, and something about the because it doesn't have a two-way stereo, something like that. And so if you are having a hard time hearing this, try it on your laptop or on your computer, but know that I'm trying to fix it. Okay, I'm not just letting you just do all the hard work. I am trying to fix it, but I'm just not a techie person. So let's go to card number 10. This is one of my favorites from this kit. So I wanted to go back and use that word edge die, but I'm running out of papers, and of course my papers, some of them don't really match. So what I did is I just used the back side of them, which again, these papers are single-sided, and so the backside of them are all white, and so I just used a bunch of different kind of rainbow color distress ink and just rub that onto the white side, and then cut them out using the stitch or the edge die so that I will have kind of a rainbow of colored papers on there. And I'm sorry, did I write? Yes, I did write the colors that I used. So for the inks that I used Dusty Concord, Ripe Persimmon, Crushed Olive, um, Festive Berries, and Mermaid Lagoon. So those are the colors that I use, and I'm gonna adhere them kind of in a rainbow color. So the purple goes on the bottom, and the blue, and then the green, and then the red, and then the orange. I did not do yellow because my background is already yellow, and I'm sorry that my head is in the way. I wanted to make sure that this is straight. It would really bug me if I did all the work and then know that my words weren't straight, so I apologize if you see my head on there. And then I am using my acrylic block just to weigh the adhesive or weigh the elements down so that the adhesive will stick permanently onto the yellow cardstock. And so because the stitch die has some long ends on both left and right side, I am going to trim that off. But first I am going to add my corners, and I just used the scallop die that I pulled out for this kit for that, and then I had pre-measured the space in between those so that my card or my yellow cardstock will match perfectly in the center of those two corners. And then I have this circle sentiment that I had stamped. This was from the baby stamp set, and just says, "Oh, so happy for you." And so this card could be, for a birthday, or for just congratulations, or for anything really that you wanted to add the happy sentiment for. And so that is my card. Now I'm going to share with you what is left over from my kit. These are all the papers that's left over. I'm really happy about that. I have used up all of these stickers, thank you stickers, congratulations, and my twine. And so this was a really productive kit for me because I used up a lot of them. I also managed to make 2 more extra cards, but I will share that after I shared all of the cards that I had made from this particular kit. I had enjoyed making them. I've learned a lot of things, the techniques that I would do next time or I would not do next time. So those are my 2 extra cards. I hope that you like this and that you will come back, and I will catch you guys again another day. Bye.